Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed friends, and fellow admirers of history's giants, today I want to talk to you about the extraordinary life of Sir Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill, a man whose name echoes through the annals of time as a beacon of resilience, leadership, and unyielding determination. Born into privilege, yet forged in the fires of failure, Churchill's journey is not one of unbroken ascent, but a chronicle of spectacular highs, crushing lows, and the wisdom gleaned from each stumble. We will traverse his life year by year, exploring his achievements that shaped nations, his failures that tested his soul, the lessons he extracted from defeat, how he clawed his way up the ladder of power, the clever escapes from perilous situations, the profound insights he gained, and the books he penned that immortalized his thoughts. This is the success story of Winston Churchill, a narrative that reminds us success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts. Let us begin at the very start. 1874 to 1892, the formative years, a childhood of neglect and early ambitions. Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill entered the world on November 30th, 1874, at Blenheim Palace in Oxfordshire, England, the ancestral home of the Dukes of Marlborough. Born prematurely to Lord Randolph Churchill, a rising conservative politician, and Jenny Jerome, an American socialite, young Winston was thrust into the aristocracy's opulent yet emotionally distant world. His parents, preoccupied with high society and politics, left much of his upbringing to nannies, particularly the devoted Mrs. Everest, whom he affectionately called Woomany. These early years were marked by loneliness and academic struggles, the first whispers of failure that would define his resilience. At age 7, in 1882, he was sent to St. George's School in Ascot, a brutal institution where flogging was routine. Churchill hated it, performing poorly and enduring health issues that led to his withdrawal after less than a year. Transferred to a school in Brighton in 1884, he showed sparks of interest in history and literature, but remained an indifferent student. By 1888, at age 13, he entered Harrow School, one of Britain's elite boarding schools. Here, his academic woes deepened. He failed exams repeatedly and was placed in the lowest division. Yet, amid these defeats, glimmers of achievement emerged. He won a prize for reciting 1,200 lines of Macaulay's poetry flawlessly and excelled in fencing, becoming the school's champion in 1892. These small victories taught him an early lesson. Persistence in what one loves can overcome institutional disdain. As he later reflected, I was on the whole considerably discouraged by my school days. It was not pleasant to feel oneself so completely outclassed and left behind. Churchill's Harrow years also honed his oratory. He joined the debating society, sharpening the rhetorical skills that would later rally nations. But failure loomed large. He failed the entrance exam to the Royal Military College at Sandhurst twice before passing on his third attempt in 1893. This pattern of repeated attempt became a hallmark. From defeat, he learned patience and the art of adaptation. "Never give in, he would famously say, a mantra born from these youthful trials. 1893 to 1900. Soldier, correspondent, and adventurer, escapes, books, and early fame. In 1893, Churchill entered Sandhurst, where he transformed. Graduating 8th in his class of 150 in 1895, he commissioned into the 4th Queen's Own Hussars. This marked his first major achievement, proving doubters wrong through discipline. But adventure called. Bored with peacetime soldiering, he sought action. In 1895, he traveled to Cuba as an observer during the Spanish-American War, writing dispatches for the Daily Graphic, his debut as a war correspondent. This dual role of soldier-journalist became his escape route from mundane duties, blending peril with profit. That year, his father died of syphilis at age 45, a personal blow that fueled Churchill's ambition. "I must make my name in the world," he vowed. 1896 saw him in India with his regiment. Amid polo and reading voraciously, Gibbon, Macaulay, Plato, he wrote his first book, The Story of the Malakand Field Force, 1898, chronicling the 1897 Malakand campaign. The book was a success, earning praise from critics and establishing him as a writer. Lessons from India. Self-education compensates for formal shortcomings. "I had no university education," he wrote. "I accumulated so many facts, and gradually my mind seemed to have worked through the entire library of history." In 1898, he joined Kitchener's Nile Expeditionary Force in Sudan, participating in the Battle of Omdurman, one of the last great cavalry charges. His book, The River War, 1899, critiqued the campaign boldly, showcasing his independent mind. But danger lurked. He narrowly escaped death multiple times, teaching him, "Fortune favors the bold, but strategy saves lives." The pinnacle of this era came in 1899, during the Second Boer War. As a correspondent for the Morning Post, Churchill was captured by Boers in November 1899 after an armored train ambush. Imprisoned in Pretoria, he orchestrated a daring escape on December 12, 1899, scaling a wall, hiding in a mine, and traveling 300 miles to Portuguese East Africa. This feat made him a national hero, boosting his fame. His book, London to Ladysmith via Pretoria, 1900, captured the drama, selling well.
From these escapes, Churchill learned resourcefulness in crisis. When you're going through hell, keep going. Politically, it propelled him. In 1900, at age 25, he was elected MP for Oldham as a Conservative, his entry into the ranks of power. 1901 to 1914, rising star in politics, party switches, reforms, and pre-war preparations. Churchill's parliamentary debut in 1901 was electrifying. His maiden speech defended Boer treatment, echoing his father's radicalism. But tensions arose. Disillusioned with conservative protectionism, he crossed the floor to the Liberals in 1904, a bold defection labeled ratting by critics. This escape from ideological constraints taught him principles over party loyalty. "Some men change their party for the sake of their principles, others their principles for the sake of their party," he quipped. Under Liberal Prime Minister Henry Campbell Bannerman, Churchill rose swiftly. In 1905, appointed Undersecretary for the Colonies, he helped draft the Transvaal Constitution, a success in imperial reform. By 1908, as president of the Board of Trade under Asquith, he championed social reforms, minimum wages, labor exchanges, and unemployment insurance. These achievements marked him as a progressive, but failures loomed. His 1909 People's Budget support alienated conservatives. In 1910, as Home Secretary, he navigated crises like the Sydney Street siege, personally directing operations, criticized as reckless. His prison reforms reduced solitary confinement, showing compassion. But the 1911 Agadir crisis highlighted his hawkishness. Appointed First Lord of the Admiralty in 1911, Churchill modernized the Navy, oil-fueled ships, naval aviation. His books from this period, like The World Crisis, begun later but rooted here, analyzed strategy. Lessons: preparation averts disaster. The statesman who yields to war fever must realize that once the signal is given, he is no longer the master of policy, but the slave of unforeseeable and uncontrollable events. 1915 to 1924, World War I debacle and wilderness years, Gallipoli failure and redemption. World War I erupted in 1914. Churchill's naval preparations shone, but hubris struck. Advocating the 1915 Dardanelles campaign to knock Turkey out, it became the Gallipoli disaster. 250,000 Allied casualties, no gains. Resigning in disgrace, he called it the biggest failure of my life. This failure taught humility. Kites rise highest against the wind, not with it. He rejoined the army, commanding a battalion in France in 1916, a personal escape from political exile, facing trench horrors. Cleared by inquiry in 1917, he returned as Minister of Munitions under Lloyd George, boosting shell production, an achievement in logistics. Post-war, as Secretary for War and Air 1919 to 1921, he supported the 10-year rule but faced Ireland's troubles. As Colonial Secretary 1921 to 1922, he helped negotiate the Irish Free State Treaty, a diplomatic success amid controversy. Defeated in 1922 elections, Churchill entered the wilderness. Health issues, including appendicitis, compounded defeats. He switched back to conservatives in 1924, quipping, "Anyone can rat, but it takes a certain ingenuity to re-rat." Elected MP for Epping, appointed Chancellor of the Exchequer by Baldwin, he returned Britain to the gold standard, a 1925 decision later deemed a failure, exacerbating unemployment. Books sustained him. The World Crisis, 1923 to 1931, 6 volumes, dissected World War I, earning him the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1953. Lessons: writing clarifies thought. History will be kind to me, for I intend to write it. 1925 to 1939. The wilderness deepens. Warnings ignored, and literary pursuits. As Chancellor until 1929, Churchill's budgets cut taxes, but his gold standard policy fueled the general strike of 1926, a failure in economic foresight. Out of office after 1929 labor victory, he warned against Indian independence and Nazi rearmament, alienating colleagues. Labeled a warmonger, this isolation was his greatest pre-war defeat. Yet achievements persisted. He wrote prolifically. My Early Life, 1930, a memoir. Marlborough, His Life and Times, 1933 to 1938, 4 volumes, biography of his ancestor. Great Contemporaries, 1937, profiles of leaders. These books provided income and honed his prose. Financially strained after 1929's stock crash, he escaped ruin through writing and lectures. Politically, he escaped irrelevance by persistent advocacy. His 1930s warnings about Hitler, an armed peace is no peace at all, were prescient but ignored. Lessons from this era. The truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but in the end, there it is. Painting became his escape, producing over 500 works. 1940 to 1945, Prime Minister in war, pinnacle of achievement amid global crisis. May 1940, Norway debacle toppled Chamberlain. Churchill became Prime Minister at 65. I felt as if I were walking with destiny, he said.
Facing Nazi invasion after Dunkirk, May to June 1940, he orchestrated the miracle of Dunkirk, evacuating 338,000 troops. His speeches rallied Britain. We shall fight on the beaches, June 4, 1940. Achievements abounded, forging the Grand Alliance with Roosevelt, the Atlantic Charter, 1941, and Stalin. He directed strategy, from North Africa victories in 1942 to 1943 to D-Day, 1944. But failures, Singapore's fall in 1942, costing 130,000 prisoners. Dieppe raid disaster in 1942. From these, he learned adaptability. However beautiful the strategy, you should occasionally look at the results. Escapes were legendary, surviving Luftwaffe bombings, Atlantic U-boat threats during crossings. His vigor defied age. He traveled 110,000 miles wartime. Books paused, but speeches compiled later as the Second World War, 1948 to 1953, 6 volumes, a masterpiece earning millions. Lessons: leadership demands vision. In war, resolution. In defeat, defiance. In victory, magnanimity. In peace, goodwill. 1945 to 1955, defeat, return, and twilight. Post-war struggles and second term. July 1945, shockingly defeated in elections despite war victory, a personal defeat. He said it was a blessing in disguise, focusing on opposition. As leader of the opposition, he coined Iron Curtain in 1930 Fulton speech, alerting to Soviet threat, a prophetic achievement. Re-elected Prime Minister in 1951 at 76, he pursued peace, coronating Elizabeth II in 1953, easing Cold War tensions, but health failed, strokes in 1953. Achievements: denationalizing industries, building 300,000 homes yearly. Resigned April 1955, knighted by the Queen. Books: The Second World War won him the Nobel, A History of the English-Speaking Peoples, 1956 to 1958, 4 volumes, begun pre-war. 1955 to 1965, Elder Statesman and Legacy, Reflections and Farewell. Retirement brought honors, U.S. honorary citizenship in 1963. He painted, wrote, and reflected. Died January 24, 1965, after a stroke, age 90. State funeral attended by millions. From failures like Gallipoli, he learned innovation's risks. From escapes, audacity's rewards. Career rise through tenacity, switching parties, leveraging writing. Lessons: courage is rightly esteemed the first of human qualities, because it is the quality which guarantees all others. His books, over 50 volumes, preserve his wisdom. Churchill's success, turning defeat into defiance, inspiring generations. As he said, "This is the lesson: never give in, never, 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 in nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in, except to convictions of honor and good sense." Thank you. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss the next one. Let's make this channel your daily dose of fire. Subscribe and let's go.